For the next few days, I'm going to be reading you from my latest book. Actually, I'm going to read you the book. It's not a big book, it's 46 pages. And I will spread that over the next 2 weeks. And I hope you enjoy it because it might help you with your perspective, your perceptions, and the way you think about things. So I think it's beautiful self-awareness content. Grab a coffee or tea and just press play every day. Join me. Here we go. Grab yourself a coffee, sit down, press play. For several years now, we have been hearing about manifestation. And for those who have decided to reject any aspect of religion and spirituality, this concept of manifestation is attractive and appealing. Some have great success in seeing their desires and dreams manifest, while for others, something of the concept seems to be missing in their equation. They expect to find a miracle formula. They expect a power within them to emerge and to allow them to create miracles. They approach the concept with their intellect and hope to find a complete equation only with an intellectual point of view, or an ego one. We see more and more people coming from the world of science, making connection with spirituality. Of course, what is most conveyed by these people are the more scientific portions. But when we take the time to read their works and watch their documentaries that they have created with their extensive research, we can very well see that the spirituality aspect has a large place in this equation that they demonstrate. I don't know if you have seen it before. There is a post that has been circulating on social media for several years that mentions that from a religious perspective, we use the word spirit. From a scientific perspective, we use the word energy. And from an everyday perspective in the street, we use the word vibe. And it concludes by saying that no matter what, when you feel it, follow it. Although inaccurate, because even in spirituality we use the word energy. The first time I saw it, I thought it was good because it allows everyone to find what they're looking for. And at the same time, it opens a door in the conscious mind to be curious and know more. Many people prefer to never use vocabulary with religious connotations for their own personal reasons. However, when we talk about manifestation, energy, vibe, and the invisible, we are still referring to fate. For most people, having faith means believing in something before you can even see it. And often, this concept in everyday life is difficult to accept, let alone master. I would like to tell you that having faith does not mean blindly believing in something first and then seeing it. But I would also like to tell you that having faith is indeed blindly believing in something because, yes, you have to believe without the ego being part of the equation, without the intellect intervening in the process or veiling a portion of the process of fate. For the intellect, it is an impossible concept, and I will explain why in all simplicity. When I was younger, I would have liked someone to explain the process to me rather than teaching me and repeating to me without explanation that fate is believing before seeing, and that someone who is not able to believe without seeing does not have faith in God. Nonsense. This erroneous way of thinking and believing continues to sound out today and continues to distance people from their full potential, their spiritual well-being, and their physical well-being. Often, even their inner connection is broken because they cannot see beyond this belief. And guess what? This is exactly what pleases the ego or the intellect, depending on the vocabulary you prefer. Look at this image before I continue. As you can see, from the intellect, faith, according to the intellect, is believe and see. But in reality, you see it, you have an image, you feel it, you believe it, and then it manifests, you see it, you believe it in the ego reality. Can you see that the I have to see it to believe it portion is actually just a portion of a whole? And can you also see that the process of manifestation is actually just the process of faith? The intellect can only believe what it sees, hears, touches, smells, feels, tastes. So with the senses of the physical body, the intellect makes a truth. Everything that is seen, heard, touched, smelled, felt, tasted become a data that is recorded in a personal database called the subconscious. To change a truth, the intellect must have new data replacing the old data in the personal database in the subconscious. The intellect or ego must therefore see to believe, since what is not in the subconscious is not a truth. So it falls into the category of what is impossible. We surely all know the saying, I will believe it when I'll see it. But why must the ego see to believe? Because the ego or intellect takes its information from the database where everything is recorded. Because the ego or intellect belongs to the physical body and its surrounding reality, the ego reality. Because when humans face situation, no matter what it is, the intellect gathers data in the mental space, known as the mind, in our mind, to know how to face it and know how to react or react, repeat an action. It is not for nothing that there are often several weeks of practice before a dress rehearsal, or that people who have jobs that require a lot of precision have had several years of practice before starting their career. These practices mean that when the time comes, the person is not faced with the unknown or the impossible, since the necessary data is in the database, in their subconscious, ready to resurface in the mental space. The physical body, being a device for the mind, it responds and reacts or knows how to act, often without having to think again or act blindly. Our ego, or our intellect, is very important for our survival. When the ego gathers data taken from our database, it is to easily and quickly survive the present situation. Therefore, everything we have experienced and are experiencing is recorded in our subconscious. Our DNA is also part of it, since it is data, different but still data of functioning and non-functioning. Our beliefs and non-beliefs, our personal, collective, and cultural limitations, our habits of thinking and acting, our emotions associated with what they are associated with, are all data that are part of our subconscious. And the more we take the same data to face a situation, a conversation, an imagination, the more this data remains active. This must be seen as the same way as practices before a general. The more we practice, the more movements and words become fluid, and sometimes even unconsciously. Take the example of driving a car. How many have already experienced going from point A to point B, lost in their thoughts without realizing the streets turned by habit and the highway exit taken by habit? Even the physical body knows what to do and how to react to brake and accelerate or put on a turn signal while you are completely lost in your thoughts. The more a data is fed, the more it grows, and is the one that will be the first taken the next time a similar situation arises, or a thought, or this or that person, or this or that thing resurfaces automatically. Why? To know how to react, to be able to survive what is or will be. It is the ego that controls the mental space. The ego has seen and it has believed. And as long as it continues to see what it believes, it will continue to believe in what it sees. This cycle reinforces the data and justifies what is true. Why stop believing in something that is confirmed every time, right? And as long as the ego controls the mental space with the data, I saw, therefore I believe, the person will always be in the reaction mode, repeating action mode, and will move forward in their life by default or in a survival mode. The more a person gets used to what has been seen as their truth, the more they will think that it is difficult to believe in something else, something that has never been seen or heard, read, or felt, meaning having faith, because it comes out of their reality and enters into the abstract or metaphysics, everything that is beyond the physical. To simplify what follows, let us say that the ego belongs to the human being as the soul belongs to the spiritual being. We are all spiritual or energetic beings experiencing through physical beings. The physical body is therefore a device for the mind, although most people will use another often heard saying, which is that the body is a vehicle for the soul. I add here that the ego with its ego personality functions in its ego reality. The ego personality is the person that we are that changes or not over time at the same time as the reality that surrounds us, our ego reality. In the linear world that has a past, a present, and a future, this present is actually just filled with data from the past to react and therefore move forward by default, which makes each day and each phase of life more or less repeated. More or less, because if new data is added voluntarily with full awareness, tomorrow or the next phase will have a new design. Why? Because there will have been a modification or replacement of the data in the database, in the subconscious, which means that when something happens, the information to deal with will no longer be the same as before. So the action will also be different. The stories fed into the mind will also be different. And if a person understands that the present moment contains the past, the present, and the future simultaneously, each day can become a new whole, since this person moves outside of their ego comfort zone. And it is with faith that a person can get out of this ego comfort zone. This is where understanding and having faith can become very important.